Good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of all of William & Mary students, welcome. This is no doubt an exciting day, one we will most certainly remember for the rest of our lives. We look forward to remarks from His Holiness, followed by questions from William & Mary students facilitated by Professor Kevin Vos of the Religious Studies Department. It was important to all of us organizing this event that over 5,000 members of the William & Mary community, including 4,000 students, received complimentary tickets to range by the Student Assembly. To our guests from beyond campus, we're glad that you're here with us. Now, let us give a resounding William & Mary welcome to His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama.
Okay, that's good. Very good, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you. 가. 오래지. 가. 어? Thank you. So, sit down. 표정을 넣어봐. 축전을 넣어. I would like to talk from here, and then later question answer, and I sit there. Okay. Dear brothers and sisters, I always use or use word brothers, sisters, because I believe that's very important. Sometimes we too much sort of emphasis on sort of the status or rank like that. So important is fundamentally we are same human being. I feel many trouble which we are facing is our own creation. And these, our own created problem, actually we too much emphasis on secondary level of differences, including religious faith. He belongs to that religion, we belong to this religion. And different races, different color, different nationality. All these secondary level. If we go the fundamental level, we are same human being. No differences, no barrier. I often telling people when I give talk, if I emphasize I'm Tibetan, I'm Buddhist, that thinking, that attitude immediately create barrier. So now, I think in ancient time, okay, your own, because too much. Ancient time, emphasis about secondary level of differences doesn't matter. Now, today, the environment issue. Entire 7 billion human beings facing this problem. Then global economy. No important of different religious faith or different national boundaries, no. So now we are 21st century. I feel there's a lot of problem. See, firstly, nobody want a problem. Among audience, anyone who really want a problem, raise hand. I don't think. Even those people who facing, regularly some problems, even these such people, and even so those people who able to handle this problem, I think even such person, as soon as wake up, I think automatically they wish, or today, less problem. I think nobody, even those able person who handle problem more effectively, even these people, I think never felt, oh, today I should have more serious problem so that I can handle effectively. I don't think. That's foolish thinking. So therefore, you see, everybody do not want problem. Then question, why these man-made problem? A lot of man-made problem there. We simply, firstly, too much emphasis, secondary level. Then also, today's new reality and our own perception, there is a huge gap. Reality, decade by decade, changing. Our perception, our way of thinking. Sometimes people say, history itself repeat. I don't agree. I do not think that. New reality is new things happen. So therefore, we tackle this new reality. Tackle problem, old way thinking. Now, one example, when we face problem, including United States, when you face some problems, you sometimes, I think, over-relying force. So sometimes relying force, unpredictable consequences. Last now, because of that, I think last, I think, one decade or 2 decades, it already happened. I think I want to sort of mention former President, Mr. Bush. I really love him. Really, very nice person on a human level. When I met first time as a president, we immediately developed closeness feeling. He showed no formality, no sort of reserved attitude. We immediately become very close friends. So So then, after Iraq crisis happened, another my meeting, and I told him, I love you, I respect you, I admire you, but some of your policy, I have some reservation. He smiled. Very nice person, really nice person. So his motivation is very good to bring democracy, to eliminate one single person sort of dictatorship. Very good motivation, very good goal. But method, use force. So, very nature of force, using force or violence, see, unpredictable and unexpected sort of consequences often happen. So now this is one example. You see, the new reality is something different than the past sort of reality. So we have to think. We have to find new way of thinking, new way of approach when we face problem. In order to know, in order to carry realistic approach, we must study the reality. In order to know the reality, our mind must be calm. With calm mind, we can carry investigation or research more objectively. Too much negative feeling, too much desire, or too much sort of hatred, anger, too much suspicion. Your mind already one-sided. So with that kind of one-sided mind, cannot see the reality objectively. So now, if we look fundamental level, those differences, I think we human beings already practice that. Like recently, I was in Delhi on an international medical conference. I think over almost 3,000 delegates from different countries. I think over 60 or 70 countries like that. So I told them, these actually, you see, there is also the practice already, not thinking the secondary level of differences, but human level, like the hospitals or doctors, when they taking care about health. Nobody asks, what is your religion? What is your nationality? So long, sick person come. Because of that, no discrimination. Take care as a human being. And also education. Sometimes there are differences, but generally, no sort of emphasis on secondary level of differences. Simply student. Want to learn, want to study. So teacher also, just consider student, eager to learn. So we already have that kind of practice already there. Now we should extend. Look, 7 billion human beings, same human being. Easterner, Westerner, Southerner, Northerner, all same human being. The way born, the way we die, and during lifetime, sleep, eat, same. And the reproduction, also same. So like that. So, that's a clear sign. We are same human being. Then important is, everyone have the feeling of I, and the feeling of pains and pleasure. There. This is, generally speaking, these are part of nature. Nature makes like that. If you accept religion, or theistic religion, then God created that way. According to non-theistic religion, then that's due to law of causality. Then ultimately, the existence of self or I is nature. And with that, feeling of pains and pleasure, also nature. And with that, desire, achieve happiness, joyfulness, and desire to get rid of suffering, pains, including animals. All sentient beings, same. So on that basis, we have every right to achieve happy life. So, now is my kasa theme event. Theme, kasa theme.
Human compassion.
Human compassion. Perhaps I may explain this way. What is differences? Human compassion and compassion in general. Perhaps I may say animals, dogs, cats, many other mammals, you see, whose life start from mother and whose survival entirely depend on mother's care. So all these, mammals, including human beings, we all have, by nature, the sense of love, sense of affection. That brings effort, caring. Without that necessary, because once their youngsters' survival entirely depend on someone else's care. Therefore, the energy taking care about the youngster, there must be emotion. That's love, compassion. That all mammals have the same sort of experience. I may say that's the general compassion, sense of closeness feeling. Now, human compassion. Now, with help of human intelligence, our compassion can extend. Even I think some cases we can extend our love, compassion infinitely. So we can develop a sense of compassion. We can develop a sense of compassion or sense of concern of well-being of our enemy. As far as their attitude is concerned, negative towards you. So we call enemy. But still, these, in the case of people, these people, basically same human brothers, sisters. So they also have the right to overcome suffering. So on that, because of the realization, we can develop sense of concern of their well-being while we opposing their negative attitude. Animals cannot do. We have this intelligence, so we can make a distinction. Action and actor. Towards actor is concerned, we keep sense of concern of their well-being. That's compassion or love. As far as their action is concerned, take countermeasure. That also, you see, not out of hatred, not out of anger, but out of sense of concern of their own well-being. People who carry injustice for the work, if let them carry continuously, eventually they have to face consequences. So sense of concern of their well-being, take countermeasure. So that essentially compassionate act, clear. So that kind of sort of compassion, we only human being can do, not other animal. So therefore, and then also you see, I usually mention the compassion, sense of concern of others' well-being, and sense of closeness. One level, biological factor, as I already mentioned, even animal also is equipped with that. That's a biological factor. Then we human beings use that sort of biological factor sort of compassion is biased only towards your own, friends or close friends. As soon as your close friends' attitude towards you change, then that sense of concern no longer there. Even anger, hatred come. So that biological factor, that compassion is very limited and entirely oriented their attitude. That kind of compassion you cannot extend towards strangers, or particularly towards enemy, difficult. Now, that compassion, biological factor, take as a seed, then use our intelligence. These also, as I already mentioned, human brothers, sisters, and the reality, one individual's future depends on them. Human being, social animal. Each single human being's happy life depends on the rest of the community. So therefore, others is the source of one's own happy future. So you have to take care. Like soil, where you cultivation. The more sort of desire about good crop, you have to take care about the soil. Similarly, since our sort of existence, our joyfulness very much depend on the rest of the community. So that's the basis of our happy future. So you have to take care about that. That's the ultimate basis of one's own happy future. Clear? So these animals cannot sort of know these things. We human beings, with this remarkable brain, we have the ability to analyze long-term interest, long-term sort of benefit. And with that understanding, with that awareness, then our love, compassion can extend towards other,
strangers.
Not based their attitude. Therefore, that kind of sort of compassion can extend not only stranger, but also our enemy. I think the real sort of test your compassion is real human compassion or not. Just visualize your enemy. Still you feel some irritation and wish something bad on that person. Then that compassion, still animal level compassion. When you sort of visualize your enemy, then yes, their attitude is negative, very bad, very harmful for me. But these essentially human brothers, sisters. If I treated them nicely, today's enemy, after some time, may become good friend. So thinking this line, and then keep genuine sense of concern of their well-being, including sort of prayer. Or I think 2 years ago, I met some Cuban, very religious-minded. So they told me they are refugee from Cuba. They told me they pray to God, please bring Castro, the dictator, Castro, bring to heaven as soon as possible. So it's quite nice. They don't like the totalitarian or dictator, but not hated. So they pray, good for him, bring to heaven. This is nice, isn't it? So like that, you see, they oppose their negative sort of actions. Unjust action, right?
Unjust action. No?
Unjust action.
Unjust.
Unjust action. We oppose. However, as a person, a level of person, keep our compassion, sense of concern of their well-being. That's a human compassion. That kind of compassion, that kind of warm-heartedness can develop with help of human intelligence. Clear? So that's about human compassion. I really feel sometimes you see people say neglect or ignore about compassion or forgiveness, these things, because they consider these are part of religious practice. So since those people who have not much interest about religion, then they also neglect about these things. That's a great mistake. Whether you accept religion or not, up to individual. If you feel more comfortable not accept religion, so that's okay, no problem. But there is no point to neglect about these values, because these are source of your own happiness, your own good health,
Well-being.
because of well-being, physical well-being. Now, according to some medical scientists, constant anger, constant fear, usually fear and anger often go together. More fear, more distrust, then more fear. More fear, more frustration. Then anger comes. So, constant fear, anger, hatred, actually eating our immune system. Other hand, keep warmth here, warm-heartedness. That brings inner strength. That reduces fear. That reduces frustration, like that. So, more compassionate heart here, it is very possible to keep your mind calm. So that very important element for healthy body. So sometimes you see these people say, healthy mind, healthy body, very close connection. Much disturbed mind, very harmful for our health. And then also, half of a joke or teasing, particularly those young ladies here. You see, you spend a lot of money for cosmetic. Some people, you see, there's some green, put some green color here. That looks very strange. So, the cosmetic makes external beauty. The real beauty is internal beauty. Internal beauty, I have one sort of story. In 60s in India, one Tibetan, formerly a monk official, eventually he disrobed. Then his wife, not that much sort of physically, not that much sort of attractive. So I teased him, your wife, not that much sort of attractive, I told him. Then he responded to me, yes, physical, not much attraction, but inner beauty is very good. Then I have no further argument. Isn't it? So I think people who want long-lasting marriage, a long-lasting marriage is very, very good. Sometimes my friend, say, when I first came, one wife, another, then after a few years, another visit, another wife. The third time, another wife. Of course, up to them, that's their freedom. However, then the first wife with children, second wife with children. That's quite sad. I think divorce, husband, wife, okay, there's some reasons. But children, I think children need someone who totally rely. That divorce, and sometimes I think psychologically, I think very harmful. So in any way, so long-lasting marriage, not based on not kasota,
Based on external.
not based on external beauty, but internal beauty, isn't it? So therefore, the inner warmth is the source of friendship. Friendship very much related with trust. Trust based on open heart, warm-heartedness. If you treat other, if you consider other as genuine human brothers, sisters, and with that you develop sense of concern of their well-being, then you see no basis of cheating or telling lies or exploitation or bully, because you take their well-being as much as your own well-being. So then no room to do these harmful physical action, harmful verbal action. Clear? So So now, as I mentioned before, those non-believer usually see not much concern seriously about these things. That's a mistake. Then another thing I want to tell you, people often got the impression practice of love is good for other, not necessarily to yourself. And furthermore, too much sense of concern of others' well-being. And that there are so many poor people or suffering, so that sometimes overwhelming your own peace of mind. Now here, we have to analyze very seriously, very carefully. Look, certain overwhelming, too much concern about others' well-being, others' suffering. Sometimes it happens. But that actually voluntarily you take serious concern about others' well-being. Nobody force can do that, right? No force can do that. Only voluntarily. So that volunteer feeling comes from inner strength, self-confidence. So therefore, superficially, little sort of disturbance in your mind because of too much care about other suffering. But deep inside, very solid self-confidence. Usually it is one's own sort of problem, and due to that, some worry, that really is yours in deep inside, very weak. So then these problems overwhelm you. So there's big differences. And I often is telling people, the positive result of compassion, first come to oneself, then to other. That my own experience. You see, we trained practice of compassion, use human intelligence. So even you see that when we think, when we remember troublemaker, the emotion, the response from emotional level, much, much mild than those people who do not train that way. Something happened, some troublemaker face. Immediately, their face become red and their heart beating increasing like that. And beside that, as I mentioned earlier, better health. And the mind become calm. And with that, we can utilize our intelligence properly. Too much anger, too much fear. You cannot utilize our brain properly. That's, I think, immediate benefit to oneself as a practice of, as a result of practice of compassion. Then, whether benefit to other, it also, you see, depends on others' own attitude. Again, you see some my sort of past experience. One occasion in Germany, when I passing through street, I usually, you see, always smiling people. There's no need any kind of introduction. I know a brother, sister, some elder brother, younger brother, or elder brother like that, or elder sister, the younger sister like that. So I always is smiling. So one day, passing through street, one young lady there. As usual, I smile. The lady, perhaps I think, got some suspicion. Why this stranger in the car, smiling towards her. Maybe that person some different sort of motivation had, maybe. So, by sort of expression of open, warm-heartedness, expression, that brought fear, suspicion, rather than
Calmness, peace of mind.
rather than just a peace of mind or joyful, like that. So, it's one example. Practice compassion to practitioner himself, herself, immediately got some kind of inner strength, inner calm. Then every sort of then your whole life become easier. No longer any uneasiness or nervous. If while I'm talking to you, I'm too much concerned about my own sort of name or my own
Interest.
something, then that immediately brings some stress, some sort of fear. Don't care what other people say. Talk truthful, honestly, frankly. Then, no reason to fear, no reason to pretend. Right? So that's very helpful, very helpful. Clear? But as a result of practice of compassion, loving kindness, whether brings some benefit immediately to others, as I mentioned earlier, that questionable. That depends on others' own attitude. So therefore, now the important is, please don't think practice of compassion or loving kindness is something religious practice. Don't think that. Of course, all major religious traditions emphasize this practice. Therefore, they utilize different philosophical views in order to strengthening this practice. But itself, as I mentioned earlier, biological factor, then our common sense use, we can develop that. This is for our own interest. So please think that. So therefore, I usually say approach promotion of human compassion, human loving kindness through a secular way, not touching religious faith. If you explain these things or promotion these things based on religious sort of,
Beliefs.
religious belief, then it becomes narrow. This is the question of well-being of 7 billion human beings. So quite a large portion of that humanity, not much interest about religion. So we should not exclude these people. We should include these people. So we need secular way to approach promotion of human values, human affection. So that's about my talk. So now I'm really very, very happy and great honor speak. And as one of the oldest school after Harvard. This is so one oldest. So I'm very, very happy. Indeed, great honor. And the people, quite big number, really, you see, because of attentively
Listening. Listening.
Attentively listening. So I appreciate. Thank you very much. So now some questions.
Are you going to read them? Are you going to read them?
Sit down. Sit down. Some written question?
Your Holiness,
Good.
Your Holiness, thank you for your inspiring words. I'm Kevin Vos, the Walter G. Mason Associate Professor of Religious Studies here at William & Mary. Last week, students had the opportunity
Closer,
to submit...
closer.
Thank you. Last week, students had the opportunity to submit questions to our guest. His Holiness has graciously agreed to answer a number of these, which I have the privilege now to ask. Your Holiness, I wonder if you could speak to the importance of multi-faith relations in today's world. How can the people of so many diverse faiths who believe that their religion is the right one work together to build a stronger future of mutual love and respect?
I think, firstly, if you examine what's the real message of these major different religious traditions, as I mentioned before, all teach us love, compassion, tolerance, forgiveness, and self-discipline and contentment. So many serious practitioners, many Christian monks or nuns or Christian sort of practitioners, lay people, there are a lot of good people who really dedicated their life for well-being of others, like Mother Teresa, and in India, and also I think many developing countries or underdeveloped countries, there are a lot of missionary workers. All their inspiration come from their own faith. Similarly, among the Muslims, wonderful people there. Among my own friends, there are. So this is clear, clearly shows all major religious traditions, if you practice sincerely, all have same potential to produce good, sensible human being. Then, in the philosophical field, oh yes, big differences. Now, obviously, one fundamental difference is theistic religion, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, many Hindu traditions believe Creator. Then some Hindu traditions and also Jainism and Buddhism, no concept of Creator, rather self-creation, like that. Believe law of causality, no central authority or creator. So big differences. But that, I think I always make clear, among Buddha's own disciples, because of different mental disposition, Buddha taught different philosophical concepts, philosophical views. These philosophical views looks contradictory, but you see, Buddha taught deliberately according the mental disposition of different people. So then, obviously, different sort of location, different sort of climate, through that way, different way of life, different culture. So, the different religious philosophical views develop or taught by these great masters. So according the reality. So it suits them. So therefore, we need different way of approach. Then I would like to make clear the concept of one truth, one religion, and concept of several truth, several religions. If we look same level, then this is contradiction. But from Kasada,
From a different perspective, from a different angle.
or from different angle, different perspective, no contradiction. In terms of individual practitioner, concept of one truth, one religion is very relevant. That strengthening your faith. In the terms of several people, naturally, the concept of several truth, several religion is relevant. So on that way, we can overcome this sort of contradictory sort of say, views or concept like that. Then another thing, as I mentioned before, we should be realistic. Whether we like it or not, there are already different religious traditions. Last over 2,000 years already there. So when Buddha there, already different religious traditions in India, already there. When Jesus Christ come on this planet, already there are different religious traditions. So some people even say Jesus Christ's sort of history, I think about over 10 years.
Some people speak over 10 years, lost period of 10 years in Jesus' life.
Some say he visited India. You see, some contact with Indians or also different religious traditions practitioner. Possible, very possible. You see, some, what's it, they, strict sort of
Conservative.
or some conservative conservative Buddhist, they say, oh, Buddhism taught by Buddha himself, no influence of other tradition. But if we use our common sense, I think Buddha, on the basis of existing sort of religious sort of tradition, then Buddha developed some new ideas. So some sort of practice eventually become common practice. So it is very possible. You see, the religious faith come later, very much sort of related with previous existing religions. I think Jesus Christ is appeared already Judaism, already Judaism, and then later Muslim come. They already see Christianity, Judaism already is there. So like that. So therefore, on this planet, also different religious traditions develop. So that's reality. So my point is, during Buddha's time, Buddha never tried entire population on that continent, India's continent, he never tried. He accepted there is a different religious faith. So when Jesus Christ come, his own location, you see, he taught on one truth, one only religion. That does not mean whole world. that time only local Sarvada, local world like that. So therefore, whether we like it or not, we have to accept the reality. There are different religious traditions already there. Last 2,000 to 3,000, 4,000 years already there. So in ancient time, we follow of different religious tradition, remain a little bit isolated. Isolated. Now today, world becoming smaller. So almost like one entity. So that entity, multi-religious world, multicultural world. So therefore, I think India, last over 2,000 years, beside homegrown religions, the all major world religious traditions come to India and settle. So last over 2,000 years, religious harmony there. Even today, basically, India truly multi-religious country, society. No problem. Occasionally some problems. That usually become prominent news. Otherwise, if you look carefully, India, I think the number of Muslim population in India is second on the global level. First, biggest population, Muslim population, populated nation is Indonesia. The second, India. But you see, these Muslims remain side by side. Hindus, Jains, Christians, Jews, and Muslims, like that. So I always telling people, India is the living example. Multi-religious believer live together. So it is very possible if we approach more realistic way. Then here, after September 11th event, just after 1 year, in Washington,
there was a commemoration service.
Since at that time I was in Washington, so they invited me too. So in the National Cathedral, I expressed, due to some mischievous action or destructive action carried by some mischievous Muslim, that due to that, generalize whole Muslim Islam is something negative, is totally unfair, unjust. Right? So therefore, mischievous people among all religious traditions there, among the Buddhists also some mischievous people, among Tibetan Buddhists also some mischievous people there, among the Christians also some mischievous people there, among the Jews, among Hindus, like that. So this never represent the whole tradition, clear. So therefore, India as a whole, I think really 1,000 years religious harmony already there. That's one example. So I think the rest of the world should learn from India's experience like that. So all these, I think in history, conflict in the name of religion, most cases, I think the real reason is not religious faith. but economy reasons or power reasons. So power struggle, and then use name of religion. And then in some cases, yes, with sort of faith, due to faith, different faith, some conflict. That actually lack of awareness, lack of realistic approach. So here we need more effort to reach out to other sort of other faith. On my own sort of level, I always try to reach out. As I mentioned earlier, since September 11th event, I'm Buddhist. And historically, Indian Buddhists very much suffer under Muslim rulers because of the rule. But past is past. Now today, for example, the most sacred Buddhist area in India, Bodh Gaya, the Muslim community, most of the shopkeepers are Muslim. So most customers are Buddhist. Very friendly. So past. Now we must look the present reality. So since September 11th event, I came forward to different Islam. Wonderful things, wonderful Muslim peoples there, wonderful. So therefore, we must respect Islam like that. So we must make every effort to reach out each other. That's very, very important. Next question.
Your Holiness, technology has rapidly permeated the daily lives of many young people. How do you think technological advances like cell phones and the internet have changed the spiritual lives of those who use them? And can you give any advice on how to use technology to enrich your spiritual life?
그래서 저는 가세기들 소리로 로 the technology itself very useful, very good. I think one of the great achievement in recent centuries, particularly I think end of last century and now this century also now. And then sometimes I heard, you see, the American, the youth, younger generation, I think whole time looking at television or something. Do you? Recently, in India, in my own place, some visitors came, one family, Indian family, and we just used to talk. Then I told them, last over 2 years, I never opened my television set. I only listen BBC.
Radio.
Otherwise, it's
Radio.
BBC radio. I never sort of open my television sort of set. And then one sort of one young
Member.
uh,
Young
family member, one young, and he responds, how you passing time?
How do you pass your time then?
Oh, yes, yes. And I told him, as most of my time, I say, think. And that we usually call, the Buddhist practice we call analytical meditation about life, about the world. All these things, is analyze. So most of that once you sort of develop interest about that kind of practice, it's the time very quickly to pass like that. And then also you see some recitation and also some sort of chanting. I respond to that young Indian. So then I felt, oh, these young Indian, they spend a lot of time to, looks like receiving teaching from television. Looks like that. I think very bad for your eye. And then I think, you see, these are not helpful to utilize our own sort of, computer here. More and more relying on machines, less use our own the biological way,
Capacity.
or the brain capacity. So I think occasionally open the television, include television, or use this technology, but should not totally rely on kasa.
On these technologies.
I think eventually 24 hours you just slept, and then robots, right?
Robots, yeah.
Robots feeding you and taking your urine or everything by robot. You just remain like that. That's, I think, too extreme. Really wasting our ability, our potential. Isn't it? Like that. It must be.
That is well.
Spirituality means there is also, as some Tibetan practitioner, they express, once you gain some experience, some knowledge, then every appearances give some teaching. You get some lessons. Now, for example, this very moment, when I look at you, one Buddhist sort of practice is the absence of independent existence. Now, in this case, absence of independent existence of self. When I think that, when I keep memory about that, then it appears like picture. It exists, but mere designation, not independent, solid existence. So like that. And then, when we look, the world affair, so many sort of problems, so many sufferings. These sort of
So, for spiritually evolved individuals, it is said that every event or experience can be a learning experience in the form of instructions.
Oh, so like that. So therefore, you see, this technology can use for further development of one's own spiritual experiences, like that. Next question.
I'd like to emphasize these are student questions. What should we think about or tell ourselves when we feel overwhelmed with school, work, family, and relationships? Sometimes it gets too hard to keep everything in order.
Ah. Correct.
And so that Tolutru in Bechane and the Kapkashiri, Lobzen, Mangchabata, and so Matubata, and Yiten, Pamale, Jewachiku Yobata, and Tikan Suya, Zewachas, Santa Zule, Samanyamur, and now Suma to the young to us. The day Kavlia and Semki, Reo Malayata, Semkulus and Detu, and Tafsir Karianas.
I think it depends on a basic attitude. And also, I think sharpness of your mind and intelligence and realistic approach, all combined. So sometimes, maybe intellectually, very high, very sharp, but less experience of the practical level. Sometimes practical level, very much sort of the experience, but lack of vision, lack of knowledge. Yeah. So we need, in order to carry our life meaningful, and in order to deal with different problems and different challenges. So all these different sort of quality must sort of combine. So I think this particular sort of questioner, I think you gain more experience, more time passes. I think you may find these things become easier. The meantime, due to one problem, they demoralize and fed up or give hope. That's real failure. No matter how complicated, how difficult it is, you must keep your enthusiasm, your optimism. That's very, very important. Myself, at the age 16, I lost my own freedom. At the age 24, I lost my own country. Now last over 53 years, remain as a refugee. A lot of problems and heartbreaking news from our own homeland. But I always, keep my enthusiasm, my willpower. And there are some reasons judging event on this planet. Even within 20th century, early part of 20th century and later part of 20th century, I think the humanity's thinking becoming much more reasonable, right? Mature, much more mature. I think there are I have some reasons. So therefore, there is sufficient reasons to be optimism. Or sometimes you see people's mind is sometimes you see a little bit silly. Recently I met some people say 2012 is the end of the world. Right? So recently some people asked me that. Then I told them, no. At least the Buddha stated, his own teaching will last 5,000 years. So over 2,500 years now passed. So at least 2,000 years yet to come. So no need to worry. and end of the world. And also, if real end come, that's also good. Then no longer any problems. So you see, we should utilize our own intelligence properly. Should not sort of rely on some information, say something here, and believe that. And some information come from here, believe that. It's not good. We have the saying, "Lumbu chuna kati sati."
There's a Tibetan saying which says that we shouldn't be like a foolish person who can be led anywhere by as if there is a rope attached to its nose.
We must rely on one's own intelligence and experiment and because of the investigation. That's very, 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 very important. Okay, next.
The Buddha lived.
Yes.
The Buddha lived 2,500 years ago, and his life story has become both the basis for the Buddhist religion and the model for the lives of Buddhists. What relevance does the Buddha's life story have for people of the 21st century, particularly if they are not Buddhist?
가서. Firstly, I always emphasize the people from different religious background should keep your own traditional religious belief. That is much safer, much better. Change religious faith sometimes creates some problems. I have one story. In early 60s, at that time, you see, many Tibetan refugees, their life very difficult. Although government of India and some volunteer agencies, they really take care, help immensely. But of course, still a lot of difficulties. Then one Tibetan government lay official, he's sort of posting in border area. So I think 60, he escaped from Tibet. He can brought his own wife and I think 2 or 3 children, very young. So then the lay official passed away as a father of that family, passed away. Then mother with small 2 or 3 children left. Very difficult. Their way of earning is road worker and facility very poor. So then I think 60, maybe 62 or 63, that mother came to see me and told me all her stories, difficulties. And he received a lot of sort of help from Christian organizations. It's to all refugee community, actually feeding by many Catholic relief service or these things like that. And then she told me her own children also is taken care by some Christian missionaries, including their education. So then she told me, now this life, now she become Christian, but next life she will be Buddhist. So what is that? It is a clear sign of confusion. And then some, you see, Europeans, actually Polish, I think after Second World War, or during Second World War, maybe she came to India and then settled in India. So after we came, after 59 we came, you see, she became a very close friend of Tibet. me personally also, very close friend. Then eventually she wanted to become Buddhist. But then, at the end of her life, in her mind, constantly the concept of God, Creator, is come. So Buddhists, as I mentioned earlier, no concept of Creator, but law of causality, self-creation. So these are clear signs. It's a changing religious faith, not easy. So therefore, I always stress the Americans or Europeans, you traditionally Judeo-Christian background and to some extent Muslim. So all these theistic religion, it is better to keep that faith. Of course, out of millions of people, there's some individual, like Tibetan, I think 99% Buddhist, but some Muslims there, some Christians also there, so it is possible. So some individual may find Buddhist approach is more suitable, more effective, then okay. But then you must keep respect to your traditional religion. That's I always say that. Now, I think the follower of other tradition, I already noticed some good Christian, serious practitioner, they using some Buddhist technique about single-minded practice and certain method or certain technique, practice of forgiveness, tolerance. So that's okay. These are common practice. Similarly, we Buddhists, since 60s, I sort of telling Tibetan Buddhists, we must learn, we must follow some Christian brothers, sisters, sort of social
Example of social work.
example of social worker, and mainly in education field and health field. So we can mutually learn, mutual learning, like that. But then so you see already you see some Christian practitioner use some Buddhist method. Oh, one sort of my story. One Christian monk, very nice, one American Christian monk, a wonderful person. He really sincere practitioner, and also he shows serious concern about Tibet. So he often used to ask some practice, like single-pointed mind, and some of these sort of practice. And one day, he asked me about the concept of absence of independent existence. Then I told him, oh, this is not your business. This is unique Buddhist business, so don't ask that. Because I felt, you see, the concept of no independent existence, no absolute. So that kind of concept may sort of harm their single-pointed faith towards Creator. So I respond like that way. So, some common practice we can learn each other like that. This is one thing. Then perhaps non-believer, not much serious about religions. Then perhaps I take a Buddhist way of approach. One example, I always see telling Buddhist community that one Buddhist or one quotation, oh my follower, monks, scholars, should not accept my teaching out of faith, out of devotion, but rather thorough investigation and experiment. So this very to those people, you see, who little bit sort of skeptical to certain sort of ideas, then I think this approach is very suitable. Investigate, experiment, not easily accept what Buddha says. So therefore, 2,500 years, this is history, during this sort of the period, many great Indian Pandits, Indian Buddhist masters, they carry, examine or investigation different Buddhist sort of teaching. Then they make distinction. This Buddhist teaching literally can acceptable. This teaching we cannot accept because it goes against our common sense, our reasons, our logics. So therefore, that's, I think, something unique. Most of the religious sort of tradition just is faith.
Emphasize faith.
Emphasize faith, accept, without question. Then Buddhism in general, particularly the Sanskrit tradition, raise question with skepticism and the further investigation. That, I think many scientists like that way of approach, like that.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here today.
That's how it is. That's how it is. Finish.
Now I continue. Buddhists hold. One more? Just one? Buddhists hold that all things are dependent arisings, that everything comes from causes, not all of which are apparent. So too with this event. Many have worked long, tireless hours to bring His Holiness here to us today, and two here must be thanked before we break. Michael Fox, the Chief of Staff of our President's Office, Steve Tewksbury, our major events planner, have both worked for many months to ensure the success of today's event. His Holiness the Dalai Lama does not charge a speaking engagement fee. Proceeds from ticket sales generated more than $66,000, which covered part of the cost of this event. The Janet and Peter Atwater Lecture Endowment and the William and Mary Student Assembly provided for the remaining costs. The College of William and Mary did not profit financially from this event, but our lives have most certainly been enriched. Thank you, Your Holiness, for visiting William and Mary. Ladies and gentlemen, the Dalai Lama.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you. 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 이게 되게 좋은 말이야. 되게 크다 좋은 말이야. 알래, 어려. 야. Thank you. Difficult job, like that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you.